Well, welcome back, Kid-Ass Valley Sports Talk fans. I am Eric Sorensen here with Luke Olson, and a special signing day episode. We are lucky enough to have today in studio our special guest, Coach Chris Fisk, head coach of Central Washington University Wildcats. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate it. This is really neat.
We're pumped to have you here, and we started this thing this fall and got to watch a really awesome football season fall in your first year, and you mentioned before you got here how exciting it was your first signing day, and walk us through your first signing day, and I'd say it was a pretty successful one.
Yeah, I mean it's a year-long culmination of a lot of work. There's a ton of travel and there's a lot of time away and there's a lot of communication and things that happen over the course of a year to get to one day and get these kids signed up to play football at Central. So it's a wild ride every year, and you kind of never know what's going to happen. We had some surprises on signing day, and so it was a fun year.
Yeah. Well, you signed, let's see, I looked at my notes here, 27 true freshmen signed their national letters of intent to play. The one note I wrote down was that you and your coaches, you found some beef this year.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with the height and size of your guys. Can you talk to us about that?
I think it's my background as an O-line coach. I think that if moving forward every year we can win the line of scrimmage, we got to have those big O-linemen, and I think that we needed to get longer and bigger on the D-line to do what we want to do with our new D coordinator, so there was definitely a big effort to bring those big bodies in, and really happy with the guys we got, and we had some good surprises in there, and we were able to talk some kids out of going to the Big Sky and Pac-12 in some cases and get them to come to Central.
In terms of recruiting, I mean, there's obviously D1 talent, and then there's guys at D2 and FCS. I mean, when you're looking at a kid, what goes in that recruiting when you see a guy that's like potential D1, or are you avoiding the 4-star, 5-star guys, and what goes into that?
Yeah. Well, no, we're not, because I think that you never know what's in a kid's heart. Sometimes for those kids, the big limelight isn't what they're looking for. They're looking for a place like Ellensburg and a place like Central. Mm-hmm. So you go out at the beginning of it, like what we're doing now in February, March. We'll go out and recruit them all. I don't care. And the people that put stars out there aren't the experts either. Mm-hmm. They come close, but we go recruit them all, and then we recruit them as bounce backs. And so, without divulging too much, we've got a couple guys that we're going after right now that went to bigger schools and it didn't fit, right? It didn't work for them at those schools, and now they're calling us saying, hey, I want to make that trip back to Ellensburg. And so we're always recruiting for the future and the present. And so regardless of stars and regardless of what people think, we'll recruit them all. And those guys that are Pac-12, high-end Big Sky type of talent, we figure out pretty quick as soon as the offers start rolling out, and they're not afraid to let us know that this is the end of the line for Central. So we definitely get that message quickly.
And so what went in? So obviously you got Josiah, right?
Yep.
From Bellarmine Prep. He's committed to UW, and then he decommitted in the same day and signed with you guys. Kind of what happened? Who got the call? And
it's really been recruiting him all year, and we're going to the school and going visiting with the coach, and things are going really, really well. And then it goes cold. We got nothing out of him, and it took us about 2 more weeks to get him back on the hook a little bit and be able to get him to agree to get us to come in to do a home visit. So we go into the home visit, and the reception's really well. He's got a great family, very devout Christian family that they want the best for their kids. And he's got a brother that started at Oregon for 4 years. He's got some ties into the Pac-12 that way, and very talented. And so after the home visit, we think it's great. He's supposed to come on an official visit. We can't get a hold of him. It goes blank again. And so you're just wondering what the heck's going on. And, come to find out, had some transportation issues. It's snowing like a son of a gun on the pass, and the family's scared to get over the pass. So we hop in the old Stewart Subaru cat car out there, and the GAs brave the weather and go get him and bring him back and bring his family back over with him. And we get the home visit, or get the official visit in, and it goes really, really well. We think it's great, and disappears again. Can't get a hold of him for a couple more weeks. And we finally get a hold of him. He says, you know what, Coach, I think my heart's up at UW. I always wanted to try this Pac-12 thing. And we respected that. We just said, like we always do, is if something changes, we want to be your first phone call. And so we just kind of told him on, the night before signing day, hey, really impressed with you, really enjoyed getting to know your family. Good luck at UW. And like I said, if it changes, come on back. And about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we get a phone call that he's flipping, that he had a mom that is deceased and felt like his mom was speaking to him and telling him that he needed to get out to Ellensburg and come play football for us. So that's one of the many stories in that whole recruiting class. But it was, it's like a roller coaster. You think you got him, and then he's gone, and then you think you got him, and he's gone, and then we were just lucky enough to, there was a lot of celebrating going on in the room when he called us up and said he wanted to flip to Central.
I bet, reading through the articles and whatnot and trying to do my research before he came today, the one thing I noticed in every kid in the bios of who you signed, and you hit on it just there, is that every kid that signed with you loved the family aspect of your program.
Yeah.
And that's just, they worked that probably got you that guy right there.
Yeah, it's who I am, and it's what our program is, and it's what we want to be. And it's good to see that it had affected that kid that way. Yeah.
So I know we've talked about this, but what do you sell? What's the big thing that you sell these kids? Obviously family,
Yep.
But what about Ellensburg and the university itself? What do you sell?
Well, I think when we get a young man to Ellensburg, the school and the town sell itself. I don't have to sell those two things. We've got one of the best universities in the Pacific Northwest, not just the state of Washington, but if you look, Idaho, Oregon, especially California, and you look at Washington, we've got an unbelievable situation here at Central. We're not in a huge metropolitan area where it's a pain in the rear to do anything, but we also have a true college town here with a ton of support. You just go drive around on homecoming weekend and you can see, what kind of town we have. So those things sell itself. In terms of our family atmosphere and what we offer kids is that we promise them that we are going to get them ready for life. And that if we can build a program with high character guys that are super accountable in the classroom, that's going to buy us a bunch of wins every year just because our kids are accountable, right? And so what we sell is character, and we sell that we're going to build strong men, we're going to build strong husbands, and we're going to build strong, dads, and we're going to make sure that when they leave Central Washington University, which is the same mission as the school, right? President Gaudino, is that they're going to be better men because of it. And that's our mission. I don't worry about the X's and O's so much as we worry about, are they doing what they need to do in the classroom? Are we getting close to a team GPA of a 3.0? And if we can do that and push and push and push until we get there, I think the national championship then takes care of itself. It's not about that you're pressing to go get the best talent. You're trying to build the best team with the most accountable people. That's how we did it at Southern Oregon University, and that's how we're going to get it done here.
Well, that was another thing I wrote down notes of how cool. And if you're a community member listening, you haven't been to a Central football game, get out there. Every kid in your signing class had a GPA of 3.0 or higher.
Close,
and
not everyone.
Close.
But we were close. We were pretty good.
But that's just it's fun to watch programs and get behind programs that are doing things the right way like that.
And the young man that you mentioned from Bellarmine Prep, Josiah, huge GPA for coming out as a nose guard. So the total group, we were at a 3.0 with the total group.
Okay.
And so when you're talking football, anytime you're talking football, 3.0 and higher is a huge number for us, and it's something we were excited to get.
Yeah. Was he one of the biggest targets for you guys this recruiting season?
One of them. We had many.
Yeah.
The Lloyd Hammer kid out of Wenatchee was a battle with Montana State late in there.
Mm-hmm.
Montana State had offered him a partial as well, and if you've ever been to Bozeman and you've been around Montana State University, that's a heck of a thing for us to flip him over to Central, and then. We had another guy, Josiah Cochran, out of Skyview in Vancouver, battling Portland State, which is still a heck of a battle for us anytime we get tied up with those Big Sky schools. And even in the previous year's class with Bailey Sparks, we were able to tangle with Eastern Washington on that. So we've had our fair share of guys over the last 2 years that we've been able to kind of get out of the grasp of those Big Sky schools, and in this case, a preferred walk-on at UW with Josiah. So really, really happy with all of those guys that we were able to pull.
Yeah.
I was, another thing I was looking at, and I actually got to watch a few of these guys because it's his alma mater with Kennedy Catholic.
Yep.
When I went to the Enumclaw game.
Yep.
And the running back room that you have right now, I mean, they're guys you have returning, but the guys you've signed here.
Yep.
Talk to us about the running backs you have going on, and it's obviously a pretty strong.
And you
Yeah.
signed one from Kennedy as well.
You did,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a.
Zaire Lozolo, it's a weird deal at Kennedy because he's with all these 5-star, 4-star athletes,
Right.
so nobody talks about him, right? You've got all these receivers, and you got the Heward kid, and he gets zero attention, but he just quietly ran for over 1,200 yards and just had one of those quiet 1,000-yard seasons.
Right.
And so we had him at camp. Coach Cross brings the team over, and really cool to be around the Heward kid, just an unbelievable kid, and Coach Cross does such a good job. And that's one of our things that we're looking for in recruiting is when we're going out is what type of a program do they come from? Do they come from a team that goes 1-9 every year, or a 2-win program? We're looking for guys that come from championship programs that are coached by really good coaches. And when you talk Enumclaw and Kennedy Catholic, those are two of the best, right? And Coach Gundy does a unbelievable job over there at Enumclaw as well. And Jackson McCann is he's going to be a little bit more of a sweeper back for us that we'll use in some fly sweep stuff and get him in the ball out in perimeter. And he's squeaky fast, and he's just he's a slick kid. And we had him at camp as well, and it seemed like every time Enumclaw gave him the football, he scored a touchdown. And after about 10 touchdowns, you couldn't, because we shouldn't recruit him, right? Like,
Right.
He's too short, he's not big enough. But after a while, you're going, man, if he can just do half of those touchdowns for us, we'll be in good shape. So we got two really good ones there.
I know that was like watching a small college play that day.
Yeah.
Watching those two schools.
Well,
play.
and don't forget the backs that we have in the room.
Right.
Michael Roots.
Oh man, he's a fun one to watch.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
And he probably should have been at San Jose State. That's kind of where he was headed out of high school. And life happens, and he ends up here. And then we've got Ray Green from Evergreen High School in Vancouver, transferred back from Montana. He's having an unbelievable winter right now. He just got to the highest level of our conditioning program for the winter program. And then we have not a sleeper, he's a stud, but Tyler Flanagan out of Woodland High School I'm just telling you, watch out for that kid next year. He'll be a redshirt freshman, but he's doing big things in the weight room and big things in conditioning. So the running back room is really good, and we still have a couple guys that we're looking at as well.
Yeah.
Is Eric Wilkes returning?
Eric Wilkes will not be back.
Okay.
He opted to forgo his senior year.
Okay.
Yep.
And that running back committee, I know that's, you have Michael Roots, obviously he's going to get a bulk of the carries, but
Yep.
is that something you've always liked to do? I know
I do.
Shoemaker did like to have
Yeah.
2 or 3 guys back there.
I think I always equate it to the D-line. The fresher those guys are, the harder they can run, the harder they can play. So we like to have 3 backs going into every game and rotate those guys in. But, yeah, Michael Roots will carry the bulk of that load. But I would even tell you off of last season, what we would like to do is lower his play count a little bit, but up his production per carry. And so that'll be the mission for this offseason. And again, I think what goes unnoticed about what Michael did last year was he was behind 4 new starters on the O-line. And to be able to do what he did with 4 new starters up front, and those guys got better every week, but really exciting this year that we only have 1 new starter in the O-line instead of 4, and that running back core back. So we're hoping that the run game will be special again this year.
Yeah. And I know you've talked a lot about the culture with the O-line, last
Yep.
year. I mean, is that something you're able to sell to these, obviously with your experience with the O-line, is that something you're able to sell with incoming guys, like just incoming O-lineman guys?
We don't sell much more different than we sell on the whole program. That if they come there, they're going to get an outstanding football education along with an academic education. And I think with the O-line, what we do is we present the numbers. We show them that it would be hard for you to find a team in the country over the last 6 years, going back to my days at Southern Oregon. We average less than 15 sacks per game, or per year. And so to find numbers like that, along with the ability to be a 2,000 to 3,000 yard rushing team, our production numbers over the last 6 years, 7 years here have been as good as they are in the country. And so we present that a lot. We also present that we're going to run the football and we're going to use tight ends, which you just don't see a lot in college football today. And that appeals to O-linemen. They don't want to be pass setting every play and be in an offense where they're just throwing the ball around all the time. And they want to run block. They want to go out there and be physical because that's what they do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, talk about the defensive side of the ball. Some of the guys you signed there.
Yeah. So, exciting defensive class. But I think what's just as exciting is we just hired a new D coordinator. The story will come out this afternoon on the website. We've already had it on Twitter a little bit, and we'll put it out on Twitter. But Nate Johnson will make a return for us. He was the safeties coach for Coach Power in the 16-17 season. And for those of you that know, that was probably statistically two of the best years of Central football defensively. Now, I know there's been a ton of great defenses, so definitely not sliding any of the other defensive years, but 17 was a record-setting year in a lot of areas. And so we're excited to get that tree of defense back to Central and start getting that thing headed the right direction. But when you look at the list of kids defensively, I think we start off on the back end with Dominique Weichberg from Skyline. And so he's a kid that is a Pac-12 type of kid going into his junior year and ends up hurting his knee and loses everything, right? And has come back, has a great senior season. Pac-12s don't want to take a chance on him because of the knee. Great fit for us.
Right.
He's a 6'1" corner, which is hard to find. Got a ton of length, but I think what's even better about Dominic is that when you look at his family, you go into the house and the family support there. His sister played basketball at UW, walk-on that ends up being scholarship, a ton of athleticism in the family, and a mom and dad that support him. And that's we're also looking for in recruiting is championship-level families. And so really, really excited to see him there. And a lot of the D linemen that we've talked about are it's going to be an exciting 4 years to see those guys grow. But at the linebacker level, we were able to get Isaac Clark out of Puyallup, and he's a special player. He's a wrestling guy, which I love recruiting those wrestlers because they're tough and hard-nosed, and they got a little bit of a wire loose, right? There's something wrong upstairs, which is great for defense as well. Along with, we had another young man, Leva Emsley, out of Hawaii, which is an area that we're trying to get into more and more. If you've noticed, we've got a lot of Hawaii kids that are hitting the roster, and I like to go out and recruit that one myself.
Absolutely.
For sure. So to get a guy of, Leva had San Diego State early. San Diego State fell off, and we were very fortunate to get him. He was another one that came right up until the Tuesday before signing day, and so battled our tails off for that one. But and then a couple other guys in there, Brevin Bay, which was the 2A Defensive Player of the Year, down there in Vancouver. And so really excited about that linebacking core coming in, and I think those guys will do a good job. But definitely the strength of that defensive class was in the D-line. Really wanted to find those big bodies inside and then some length at defensive end that we can get after some passers. I think of Central football. I think of guys like Tovar Sanchez when I got here that was as a senior that, that tradition of defensive line play that was at Central. And I remember watching the tape at Southern Oregon going, man, glad we don't have to play these guys, right? And so we need to get our defensive line play back to that traditional, strong Central Washington defensive line play. And so hopefully this group will get it done.
Yeah. Right. I'm thinking about the days when I was in school with the Renos and the Tanas and the Tyrell Nielsens and the.
Really, really.
It was
good.
awesome to watch.
Yeah, and when I got here, I mean, in 2017 we had Bo Banner. He's in the CFL playing now. We had Tovar Sanchez, just scary. We had Chris Penny in the middle that was 320 pounds, 6'4", couldn't move him. Yeah. Kevin Haynes behind him making all the plays, and we had Nick Amua. And, that group of guys, we've got to get back to where we've got that Washington kid that can hold the line of scrimmage and stop the run, and that's where we've been bad, and so that's where we need to get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does Nate kind of feel? I mean, what's kind of his defensive style, and how will he help this upcoming season?
So he's a 4-2-5 guy,
okay.
And the same thing as what Coach Power was. It's going to be a strong run game presence. We're going to stop the run, get teams into third and long, and then we are going to lead the nation in sacks. And that's the mission and the goal with this defense is to have a strong box presence with 4 down hands and 2 linebackers that flat out get after it, which is what Kevin Haynes was, and safeties that are certainly aggressive. And then to be able to play some aggressive man defense and press those corners up and not sit off the ball and not wait for the run game to come to us, but go attack the run game. And if he can do what he was able to do when he was here with him and Coach Power, we'll be pretty fortunate to get back to where the pressure's not on the offense to go out, score everybody. And certainly we want to be able to play to our to play to our defense and let those guys be successful and keep them off the field.
Yeah. And were you guys more 4-3 last season?
3-4.
3-4.
Yeah,
that's
we were
right,
base 3-4 defense,
Sorry.
and yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I just thinking when with these home visits that you go to these recruits, how are the meals?
You know what? So I'm a big don't eat at the home.
Really? Okay.
So I am. My nature as an O-line coach is I'm a process procedure guy, and I'm all about time management and utilizing time. So I should probably sit and have some meals, but I always try to schedule 4 or 5 visits a night, so we're always just moving and on the move and trying to. So I have the coach call ahead and tell mom and dad, hey, don't worry about dinner and that stuff, which is maybe not always the best way to do it, but I want to make sure that we can get in and see every kid and get into every home. I don't want to leave Vancouver and have missed 2 or 3 kids that we needed to be in the home. The only kid that we lost in Vancouver was the only kid we didn't home visit.
Oh, really?
So if that tells you anything. So I'm trying to get into a lot of houses, but I did have one meal at Dominic's folks' house, and his mom can cook, man. She had the ribs, the side of ribs, and she had the mac and cheese and the whole 9 yards, barbecue style, and so that was good. But most of the time, I'm moving and shaking and trying to get from house to house.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and for the listeners, you don't have to wait till fall to watch these guys. When was the spring game again?
Yeah, spring game is May 2nd. It looks like we'll be at a noon start, so it's going to be a big weekend. We've got Hall of Fame weekend. Okay, we got Central Kids Camp that day, that morning. We'll have our junior day, so we'll have all of our juniors in to visit and watch the spring game. We'll have a spring game at noon. I think the Hall of Fame banquet starts around 6 o'clock that night.
Sweet.
And Mike Riley's going in, so
hey.
we're really excited
Yeah.
about Mike going into the Hall of Fame and hit the career that he had here at Central, and then what he's been able to do. CFL, a handful of Grey Cups, highest paid player in the CFL, and so we'll be really excited to get him back on campus. He'll be a guest coordinator for our spring game, so we'll get him calling some plays against the president or something. And
cool.
have a lot of fun. And the spring game is going to be a lot of fun. I want it to be a little bit more like minor league baseball. We'll have the music rocking and rolling and have some games going on and some guest coordinators that day and hopefully have a lot of fun doing it.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on a great signing class.
Appreciate it. Thank you.